Experiencing your parents' biased attitude towards you and your siblings is truly heartbreaking. I've been enduring this since childhood. There has always been a disparity in the way my parents treated me and Sam, my elder sister. They have consistently shown more love towards her, believed her in every situation, and valued her choices and preferences over mine. Even when I was right, they would find a way to prove me wrong and ultimately follow what Sam wanted. This led her to grow up as a spoiled brat who treated me worse than my parents did, using me as a punching bag for all her frustrations. However, that wasn't the worst of it. When we reached our teenage years and began socializing with our schoolmates, she struggled to make friends, which worsened her behavior. While I'm not entirely sure why she ended up alone, since my parents never acknowledged her flaws as they did mine, I was certain she had no friends because I often saw her hanging out by herself at school. Unlike my rude and spoiled sister, I had a friendly nature that made me quite popular and helped me make many friends. Out of jealousy, Sam began treating me worse. She would accuse me of things I hadn't done and extend these false accusations to my friends. Believing Sam, my parents frowned upon my friendships and banned me from hanging out with those she deemed toxic. As usual, they thought Sam was right and even advised me to follow her example and value family time. If it were in their control, they would have isolated me from the world completely. However, thanks to my extended family, I still had the chance to be social. Since most of my extended family was concentrated in the same region, we had many family gatherings and I got along with my cousins just as well as I did with people at my school. At one such gathering, my cousins invited me to hang out, and I revealed the curfew my parents had placed on me. Upon hearing about my parents' unfair attitude towards me, the elders in my extended family tore into them. This resulted in me getting a severe scolding from my parents and the punishment of being grounded for a month. When the punishment finally ended and I got the chance to come out of the house, I learned that Sam had changed her school, possibly because of the humiliation she faced at the gathering when her social status was revealed. While it was an extra financial burden on my parents to afford a school so far from our residence, they did everything to make Sam comfortable. She was their princess after all. However, for me, everything remained the same, or perhaps even worse, I would say. Sam had made friends who were just as mean as she was. They often came over to our house and joined Sam in bullying me. Sadly, my parents never seemed to mind and even tried to make me believe it was nothing but joking and light teasing. In contrast, if I ever brought my own friends home, my parents would host them awfully. Around this time, I got to know Peter, but I was extremely hesitant to introduce him to my parents because I knew what their response would be. However, when they insisted on meeting him, I had to bring him home, only for Sam to accuse him of flirting with her when she was the one doing it in the first place. Believing her, my parents labeled Peter as a horrible person and prohibited me from staying in contact with him. At first, I tried to secretly meet him occasionally, but it couldn't continue for long and we eventually had to end the relationship. Sometime later, a similar experience happened with another guy. Sam used the same tactic to break us up and succeeded. By this time, my parents had developed the perception that I couldn't recognize good people and was incapable of making a good choice. After 2 consecutive experiences of this nature, I decided to avoid such relationships for the time being. The unfair treatment continued for years until Sam finally entered college. Although it wasn't a very reputable one since her grades weren't good enough for a better institution, she moved into a hostel but would occasionally come over to spend the weekends with us. However, her visits did not make my life any easier as I had expected. Every time she returned, she would find an excuse to make things difficult for me. Since I was only a year younger than Sam, it was soon my turn to enter college. However, when the time came, my mother informed me that they had no money to afford higher education for me. She suggested I start working and contribute to household expenses until Sam finished her degree, so they could see if they had any savings left for me. Knowing this was just an excuse to prevent me from pursuing higher studies, I didn't react much and simply said, okay. Entering a good college had been my dream, and I had worked hard for it over the years, seeing college as my only chance to escape this terrible life. I continued to work hard day and night until I finally earned a full scholarship to a reputable institution. To prevent Sam from attacking me through our parents, I immediately shared the news on social media. When informing them, I knew it was safe to let our extended family know, as it would compel my parents to explain why they refused to let me attend that college. At first, my parents seemed a little proud of my achievement, but that was only until Sam got to them. They didn't seem happy about it and started questioning my choices. They tried to make me believe that college would make me suffer, but with a lifetime of their partiality towards me, I could tell it was nothing but a reflection of Sam's jealousy. Therefore, I stopped caring about their feelings and remained firm in my decision to attend that college. Entering college made my life easier. Moving out of the house gave me the freedom to hang out without any curfews, make new friends, and truly enjoy life. Meanwhile, Sam left college, moved back home, and got a job in my mother's company through her references. It was around this time that I met Jeff, my husband. Unlike me, a meek and submissive person who often goes blank in certain situations and then stays up all night thinking about how I should have handled them differently, Jeff is quite quick-witted. He has a personality that is the complete opposite of mine and treats people the way they treat him. After getting to know each other a little, we decided to get married and started discussing the arrangements for a simple yet decent event. Since all of my family resided in the same place, we decided to hold the venue somewhere within our town. Soon after, we announced our engagement publicly and revealed the date of our wedding, which was just a few months away. Upon hearing this, my parents wanted me to introduce Jeff to them. Initially hesitant due to past experiences introducing people to them, I was reluctant to do so again. However, Jeff, being as quick-witted as he is, had already made preparations to safeguard our relationship. He bought a small recorder to gather evidence in case they raised any objections later, and to expose my sister's attempts to reach out to him. Excited and eager to meet them, Jeff went alone. Upon his return, he was unexpectedly euphoric. Perplexed, I requested to listen to the recording, but he advised me to hear him out first to prevent any misunderstanding. He revealed that, contrary to my expectations, my parents and Sam initially expressed some reluctance in approving our marriage. However, they later made it clear that there was a condition for us to proceed. We must allow Sam to walk down the aisle as a bride before me. They believed it was inappropriate for me to marry before my elder sister, insisting it was Sam's right to enjoy being a bride at my wedding. Jeff, being mature and sensible, opted not to immediately refuse, but rather to discuss it with me and devise a plan to address the situation. Upon his return, he disclosed everything and provided evidence via a recording, which was profoundly shocking and disappointing for me. Despite enduring their biased treatment since childhood, I never anticipated they would stoop so low. Had it not been for Jeff's encouragement to seek retribution, I might have suffered a mental breakdown. United in our resolve to confront them appropriately, we brainstormed strategies. After careful consideration, we came up with the idea of misinforming them about the venue and hosting the wedding elsewhere. However, recognizing the risks involved, including potential legal repercussions, we opted for a safer approach, temporarily agreeing to their demands and then preventing Sam from gaining entry at the last minute by reinforcing security measures. After making that decision, Jeff returned to my parents and acted as though he had no issue with allowing Sam to walk down the aisle. However, he expressed concern that I might react negatively. To preempt any potential conflict, he suggested that my parents cover the wedding expenses, subtly implying that it would dissuade me from objecting or causing a scene at the event. This proposal caught my parents off guard, as they had perceived Jeff to be quite smart. Sam's evident joy at the idea further swayed their decision, leading them to agree to cover all costs. To prevent any written record of their agreement, Jeff fabricated a pretext. He claimed that due to my history of failed relationships, I routinely checked his phone and would inevitably discover any written agreement. Consequently, whenever the topic of Sam walking down the aisle arose, Jeff personally visited my parents to discuss it in person. Over the next few months, this cycle of deception continued. Sam, my parents, and I all believed I was being deceived by them, when in fact Jeff and I were the ones deceiving them. This deceit continued throughout the wedding arrangements. We utilized Sam's input to make decisions on the menu, photographers, and everything else, allowing her to believe she was in charge. We then relied on her to persuade our parents to approve our choices. When it came to the choice of the wedding dress, my parents chose a gown that would not suit me at all. Despite my reluctance, a text message to my mom confirming my agreement to wear the dress provided proof of my consent. Assuring me that he would deal with it, Jeff went on with the plan, avoiding communicating anything via text messages to not leave a single proof behind. Regarding the dress, he told my parents that it had accidentally been ruined and would arrange one himself. Finally, the day of the wedding arrived, and my parents were prepared with a plan. Sam would enter before me and walk down the aisle to avoid any potential disruptions at the venue. We also had the security ready, but hid it at the time my parents and other guests arrived at the venue. After they went inside and took their seats, we made the guard stand at the gate and instructed him not to let Sam in at any cost, offering a handsome amount in return. After receiving a message from Sam that she was near the venue, my father announced the beginning of the ceremony. Leading the bridesmaids, he went to the gate, as if waiting for me. While he was expecting Sam to enter the venue, the gates opened and it was me entering at the last moment, a shock to my dad. While he was wondering what happened to Sam, his phone began to ring, and it was her. Taking the call, he left me standing there. While it was something expected, it hurt me deeply, as more and more people, including my mother, started to get up and go out to check. Jeff's father came to walk me down the aisle. The wedding proceeded smoothly while the people kept coming back and forth to the venue. Outside of the venue, the argument between my parents and the security continued, and all the other guests joined our side, admonishing my parents for having tried something so ridiculous. When Jeff was called for clarification, he refused to have ever agreed to such conditions and demanded proof. Since they had never communicated in text messages regarding that, my parents had no proof. Sam was devastated, sitting on the ground and crying like children, while Jeff joined the rebuke, blaming my parents for being biased towards me and having tried to do something so unfair. Realizing it was not their day, my parents dragged Sam back home, while the event continued with everyone else congratulating me on my big day. The wedding is already over, and we are currently in the middle of our trip to Europe. Initially, my family attempted to disrupt our happiness, with Sam endeavoring to drive a wedge between us. However, Jeff's intervention involving our extended family prompted them to retreat, bringing peace to our lives at last. Having a supportive and affectionate family is undeniably a blessing, and those who possess such are truly fortunate. For individuals surrounded by good company, it would be remiss not to relish these moments together. Furthermore, the concept of family transcends biological ties. Anyone who brings joy and love into our lives, acknowledges our achievements, uplifts us in times of need, and helps us forget our troubles is family. It falls upon us to recognize and cherish these bonds.